When good readers read aloud, they group words into phrases and pause at the end of those phrases. Things like commas and periods are clues that indicate the end of a phrase. So I will model fluency as I read to you The Taste of Hope. In 1902, a brother and sister walk hand in hand behind their parents as they step off the boat that had taken them from Ireland to the shores of the United States. They enter a huge building with a rounded roof that looks like a castle's dome. They are so anxious that they shiver. All around them a noisy jumble of people speaking in different languages makes their heads spin. The air is heavy with smells of sweat, spices, garlic, and perfume. The brother and sister struggle to picture their beloved landscape and faces that they've left behind. Back home every day was a struggle for survival, but inside this huge stone building, new fears face them. They feel overwhelmed by what the future will hold. Millions of children who landed on New York City's Ellis Island from 1892 to 1954 experienced this dramatic scene. Their emotions about coming to America were probably as mixed up as the sights and sounds swirling around inside the island's Great Hall. People immigrating to America were relieved to set foot on solid ground after crossing the ocean, but poor travelers were particularly glad. Poor people who wanted to come to the United States had to ride in steerage, a lower deck on a ship normally used to store cargo. Thunderous waves pounded this chilly part of the ship. In steerage it was easy for germs to migrate, passing from one person to another in the cramped, filthy conditions. Disease and accidents made traveling in steerage especially risky. Wealthier passengers traveled in separate cabins higher up in the ship. The cabins were cleaner. Fewer illnesses passed between families traveling in the cabins because they weren't sleeping in crowded conditions. To enter the United States, all passengers had to answer questions and pass a health exam. Immigration officials asked people 29 questions, including how much money they had. This questioning by uniformed officials was especially frightening for those people who didn't speak English. People who coughed or limped had letters marked in chalk on their backs. They were either sent home or kept in a hospital until they recovered. Ellis Island was not a pleasant experience for many of the immigrants, but it wasn't all bad. The nurses, called the ladies in white, held children's hands and gave them milk. One immigrant remembered, "There was so much milk, and I drank it because there wasn't enough milk in my country. And I said, 'We're going to have a good time here. We're going to have plenty to eat.'" Now that I've read The Taste of Hope, I have a few questions. Feel free to pause the video and discuss your answers with your learning adult and return when you're done. The first question is to contrast the trip for wealthy and poor passengers. It's not really a question, but I want you to compare and contrast the trip for wealthy and poor passengers. What was it like for each of them? Now compare what it was like to enter the United States for both wealthy and poor passengers. What are some details that demonstrate something good about Ellis Island?